All right, and shalom, everybody. This is Brother Kahleial with the King James Bible University in the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel. And public service announcement: the King James Bible University, the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, and the House of Jehovah are not affiliated with any Black Hebrew Israelite street camps or any number of Christian denominations that are out there. King James Bible University is an institution of learning that stands solely on its own, set apart from all other belief systems and practices of this world. King James Bible University is a place to learn the truth in the doctrine of Jehovah. And we're not led by any man. We're not led by any person. The only one that has sovereign authority over true servants of Jehovah is Jehovah and not man. So with that being said, welcome to this teaching titled The Hurt Child. This is a series introduction because there's going to be different teachings that will be associated with this topic, but it's always understanding that, the things that we've experienced in life are things that we can learn from. And the things that we've experienced in life, the fact that Jehovah has shown mercy unto us to help us to overcome those things and bring us to where we are today, where we can learn truth and continue to empty out self. See, emptying out self is something that we will be doing for the rest of our life. Why? Because there's nothing good in this flesh. So every day we have to put in work and meditate and study and grow and always seek to grow closer to Jehovah. Because the moment we think that we've arrived at that destination already, then is the moment that we clearly are blind. So with this topic, I'm giving a fair warning. It could be something that might make some people uncomfortable, but the intent and purpose behind this series is you never know who might have dealt with some of these issues that will be spoken about in here. You'll never know who was affected by it. But this is for whoever this is for, and this is for that person to self-reflect, look inwardly, and ask the question: have I been affected by these things? Have I been afflicted by these things? And have these things shaped my behavior? Have these things shaped my mindset? Have these things shaped the way that I live, the way that I move, the way that I operate? Because we know that these things that are not of the Most High have to be emptied out. But whatever is contained within us, we have to see it through His lens, the way that He sees things, and hold to what the truth of the matter is seek for Him to transform us within our minds and our hearts, that we may be renewed in the spirit of our mind. So with this being said, I'm going to read this and we'll begin. Just speaking on myself, the things I went through when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I went through a lot of things that were traumatic in my life. And these things ended up shaping the ways that I think on certain things. These issues that developed in my youth also carried into some of the behaviors that I have as an adult. And this is not something that's well, right? Because anything that's of this flesh got to go. So that means any of those understandings that I formulated must go as well. See, when you're a child, you think a certain way, you operate a certain way because you're still going through a heavy learning and maturing process. A lot of behaviors and qualities can become deeply placed within you at that time, because that is the time where you are 100% fresh to this world and the surroundings that you've been placed in, and everything that you look at are going to be things that could potentially influence you and steer you in certain directions. Everybody is different. Some things will resonate with a person and some things will not, but a child nonetheless is still impressionable and susceptible to their environment and the surroundings that are around them. So I was hurt a lot and was confused most of the time as a child. I lacked a lot of understanding and developed a lot of insecurities, some social issues, and behavioral problems that stemmed from traumatic experiences that I went through. This, coupled with the fact that I was alone a lot as a child, these things all played a part. So going through things and being isolated a lot of times, I would sit with my own thoughts and form my own understandings. A lot of these things never being checked played a role in my thought processes as an adult. So this is the condition that I was in as a child. When you have unresolved trauma and issues, as you're going through these things, you can begin to believe that there's no hope. And you start to just go down a self-destructive path, which is we're going to see in this lesson. Because a lot of the things that we experience, a lot of the things that we encounter, these things could have a huge influence and affect us. And we have to check, do we have the right understanding about the things that we went through? Or are these things defining who we are and shaping who we are and what we do and how we move? These are the things we have to really look at, because these were things that were affecting me heavily in this journey, and I didn't even see it until years later. So these are things that we check these things. But even if you're new here, if anything happened to you when you was a child that definitely affected you and made you feel powerless, made you feel hopeless, made you feel like everything was just closing in on you, and then you're afraid a lot, you're paranoid a lot, then pay close attention to some of these things, because there's a way out of these things. There's a way to get through these things. These things don't have to have a hold on you. So these things are important to know. So, because for me, there were sick things that went down when I was very young, and I was confused with no understanding on what was going on. And even though I knew what was going on wasn't right, as a child, I could only understand to a certain level. So when all things around me in my childhood would get worse, eventually the things that was going on with me as a child was made known, yet I was punished for everything that happened. And even being a child and not having the understanding and not being able to completely understand what was even going on, I then was in a position where I would lean to my own understanding continually. I started to believe in that I was just meant to be like that. I was just evil. I was just this, and I just started to believe that that's everything I was going through, that's just what life was about. That mindset, thinking, oh, it is what it is this, is that, that shifted something within me to where my perception was just exceedingly evil on everything. And I stopped caring about life as a child. I developed a resentment, strong hatred, more confusion, and rebelliousness, and a self-righteous spirit was on me as from a young child. Pride, all types of stuff, things that are only, well, really the pride, that pride more than anything else is being seen to where it's being seen where it's coming from, because it was always there. So we're gonna look at some precepts, and we're gonna get into this teaching so that we can understand some things about the hurt child. We're gonna start right here in Genesis 6:11 and 12. It says the earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And Jehovah looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. See, this is right here in Genesis, right here at the beginning of the book, as we seeing right here. When you first open up the book, you're gonna see Genesis, and we seeing this right here clear as day. All flesh had corrupted his way upon earth. So the thing about it is, we can clearly see this very truth today with everything that's going on. You hearing wars and rumors of wars. You hearing all type of stuff going on. People talk about they kidnapping presidents. You got people who's out there selling drugs. We got women that's prostituting themselves. It's openly being done. It's being praised and approved. You got women doing OnlyFans, selling their bodies online. You got people that's out there quite literally glorifying scamming people, glorifying doing tax fraud and all type of stuff. It's being done in music. Music got people talking about they this and they that, and if they not doing things openly, they doing things behind closed doors. All flesh has corrupted his way upon the earth. Everything that we see the evil everywhere we go. People going in prison, stabbing each other, raping each other in prison, all type of stuff. You see much evil upon this earth. People quite literally oppressing other groups of people, nations of people, sitting there going through the worst types of things that you can imagine. But the thing about it is, all the things that go on here, it does not only affect the adults, the ones that are aged upon the earth, it affects the children. So we're going to look at something here. Let's keep going. Let's look at Proverbs, because all flesh is all flesh. It doesn't matter how old that flesh is. All flesh. Let's look at Proverbs 24 and 9. We're going to look at A. It says, the thought of foolishness is sin. The thought of foolishness is sin. See, when you look at foolishness, it's going to tie you to folly, right? Giving clarification, imprudence, willful ignorance, and silliness. But then it's folly. And this folly is going to tie you to madness, confusion, rage, and delusion. It's going to tie you to what? Thoughts and envy. We see this. Thoughts of active sin, which would be iniquity. Thoughts of error. These things. We see these things here. Let's keep going. Right here. Folly, slander. You see that. These are the types of thoughts that are thoughts of foolishness. These are the types of thoughts that we don't want to get into right here. Deceitful thoughts, lasciviousness, lewdness, these things. We see this. It's going to tie to whorish desires and wantonness. So we seeing the different things that folly can tie to right here. Error, sin, transgression, iniquity. This is all folly. So the thought of foolishness is sin. We seeing all these things that's tied to this. The thought of folly, the thought of iniquity, acts of sins, doing these things that we shouldn't be doing, lying, being slanderous, these types of things, being mischievous, being sneaky, doing these types of things, right? So let's look at Proverbs 22:15a. It says, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. We can see that. You can see this. So in the heart, the mind of a child, foolishness is bound in there. Doing wrong. Getting into stuff they shouldn't get into. You ever seen a child do something and they just started lying and they held to the lie like you just didn't know they was lying? You ever seen a child sit there and they just did something that just made absolutely no sense why they did it? And they'll do some things that make you just highly upset. It just angers you. It's like, what are you doing? And it'll be, see, the only reason I'm speaking like that, I used to be that child. But you sit there and it's almost like it don't make no sense. It makes no sense, but it's bound in the heart of a child. Why? Because growing up, that child doesn't have any understanding. That is what the child has no understanding. They're in a strong developmental state of learning and growth that needs to take place. Being a child, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. A child left to their own devices is just going to get into whatever's going on. But that's the thing. That child, that's that young flesh. That child is still covered in that flesh. And that flesh See, it goes back to what happened when we saw in Genesis, that all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. See, this applies to no matter what age, because this will always apply. Right here, what we about to see. In Romans 7-18, we're going to read right here to the colon. It says, "For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing." So it doesn't matter. There's nothing good about the flesh. Even if a child may be a respectful, humble, polite child, flesh is still flesh. Therefore, for I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. Why? Because flesh is, no matter what, something that is going to be contrary to the spirit, which we're going to look at. We're going to look at that also. That's Galatians. We're going to look at 5, not 5 but 7. Let me see this real quick. It's 5:17. It says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to another." So we see how foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, because that child is covered in that flesh, and that flesh is contrary to the spirit. And then we clearly see that there's nothing good in the flesh. So then a young child needs to be taught. They need to be shown what the truth is. They need to be shown the right way to go. They need to be disciplined. They need to be corrected and shown the right way. Why? Because there's nothing good in flesh. So a young child being subject to their own devices, that flesh is going to do what flesh is going to do. So when we revisit Proverbs 22:15, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. But it's letting us know in this part, in part B, "But the rod of correction shall drive it far from him." That foolishness, them thoughts of doing wrong, getting into all this stuff, that removes that from the heart of that child. It removes it from their mind, from their way of thinking. So that correction is needed. That correction is necessary. Discipline for a child is necessary. But here's the deal. When we looking at this hurt child, though, because when you have a situation where a child does not have the truth, and they might have parents that go through things they go through, it's not to put nothing on the parents, because you never know what people deal with in their life. You never know why people do the things they do. And it says this in Sirach 30:8. It says, "And a child left to himself will be willful." A child left to himself, this is why that rod of correction needs to be there. When that child doesn't have that understanding, that they don't have that correction, and that foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, all flesh is corrupted this way on earth, and the thought of foolishness is sin. This is all the child is going to be occupied with. They're going to lean to their own understanding, and all they have is these thoughts of foolishness. Foolishness being bound in the heart of that child. That flesh of this child is going to do what it's going to do. There's nothing good in flesh. So when you have a child who is left to their own thoughts and their own devices, they're going to be willful. They're going to do what they want to do. And the only thing they'll be doing is the things of the flesh. Learning the hard way instead of being corrected. But how does all of this apply to the hurt child? When growing up, a child, some children, no matter what, even if they are disciplined, they will still do things they should not do. Why? Because what's contained in that flesh, whatever spirit is rolling on that flesh, the spirit in that child has decisions and choices that needs to be made too. So you still will have children regardless of what's going on. They still gonna be on foolishness. Which actually, we're gonna look at the law real quick, because that's what's right there to show what's being talked about. Just to show that you will still have children who are still gonna do what they want to do. So they don't move like the hurt child. These ones are different. These ones that we're about to see real quick are the ones that they just don't care. They want to do evil because that's what they're into. When you look right here in Deuteronomy 21:18, It says, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened them, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Meaning, this boy quite literally ain't walking right. He ain't acting right. He ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing. He getting into stuff he shouldn't be getting into. We see this. Because a drunkard is going to stagger. A drunkard is going to they're not going to be walking straight. So that shows that they are not living right. They doing all this other stuff. We can even see in the spiritual dictionary, a drunkard is one that stumble. Clear, it's a glutton. But this glutton is also going to be what? One that, right here, intemperance, it's excess. It's still going to tie to drunkenness. So it's still showing one who isn't walking straight. They're being crooked. They're doing all these things. They're being rebellious. It's a rebellious child. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Right here. And the men of his city shall stone him with stones that he die. So that you shall put away from, so shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. So, we're not looking at this thing carnally, because you're not going to kill a child. The thing about it is, all the men of his city shall stone him with stones. So stoning him with stones, a stone is a belief. Hey man, I'm typing in stone. Right here. They're being stoned with beliefs. They're being told what the truth is. But then that he die, see, they gonna depart. Because when a child is sitting there, okay, for an example, we're gonna give an example of this because we've seen this happen here. You have a kid that they'll be a certain age, right? Because no matter what, if a child is young, the rules that are set up in that house, them is the rules. But then you'll get some teenagers, 16, 17, 18. You know, they in this age range. 15, 16, 17. They want to start acting like they grown. They want to sit there and run the house. They want to sit there and be disrespectful. They want to sit there and fight. They want to sit there and do all this. But you just holding to what truth is. Okay. They could be brought before the teachers, ones that had wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and they gonna be told what the truth is, regardless. And if that child want to sit there and be grown, and they want to sit there and do what they want to do, okay, they gonna let them do what they gonna do there. Why? Because this is what they're choosing for themselves. They want to be grown. They want to do all this. Okay, then they gonna be grown. So it's not to where you're going to kill a child. We're not looking at that carnally where you're going to be killing a kid. But if they want to go out there and do what they going, okay, you think you grown? All right, you can go somewhere then. Because nobody's taking that. So it's a difference between a child that doesn't know the way and then a child that's being told what to do, and then they're rebellious and they do whatever they want to do. It's a difference between these two things. So we saw that. And then when we looking at the hurt child. Now, when you have a child that does not know what's going on, or they might be in a place of dysfunction where nobody has truth, where there's no truth, then it's a whole different situation, because now that child is in an environment where they don't have that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They might want to know, but they can't receive it. They don't understand what's going on. Stuff is just happening. If a child, is in that position, then it's different. So we're going to look in Jeremiah 18:12. It says, and they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will everyone do the imagination of his evil heart. Because remember, a child has no understanding or real direction early in life, and when left unattended, they get into any and everything. Flesh by default is evil, and young flesh is going to have issues regardless of age. There's nothing good in flesh, which we already saw that in Romans 7:18. So, but when you're looking at the state of this world, where truth is not easily found by many, and then it's to where we have to be brought to the truth. We have to be led into the truth. We have to always remember that when we have family and parents that wasn't in the truth, and they weren't able to share with us, they was also ignorant to what was going on. They were also not knowing what was happening. They also didn't understand what was happening. So that means they were brought up in a certain condition and they see some parents, they'll try their very best to do what they can for their children without having truth. And can't do nothing but respect it based on the intent and the desire to truly take care of their children and make sure that their children have what they need, and to show love to their children the best way that they know how. That is understandable. But the truth is what needs to be in the household. So the parents that never received it, and they never received it for themselves, then we can see how this is a compound effect. It just trickles down. The parents, they grew up a certain type of way. They don't know what's going on, so they do whatever they think is the best, and they give that to their children. And things go in certain types of ways that could be very tragic. But when it comes to that child, this is what could be ended up happening. And they said there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will do the imagination, and we will everyone do the imagination of his evil heart. Why? Because the child don't know what's going on. They just experiencing things they don't understand. They want to know. Don't nobody got the answer. They going through this stuff. So then we see this when we look at Sirach 17:16. Every man, male or female, from his youth is given to evil. Neither could they make to themselves fleshy hearts for stoning. Why? All flesh is corrupted his way upon the earth. So these ways of evil, these ways of wickedness, these things of the flesh, they're everywhere. That's why these examples was given. See, for an example, you might have a woman who got pregnant and had a child. And then she got pregnant with a knucklehead who don't do nothing for himself and don't care about life and be out there in the streets. Now he leave, and when he leave, she alone. Now she's stuck in her ways. And now that she's stuck in her ways, guess what she gonna do? She gonna move around. She's ratchet. She gonna move around. She ain't got no manners. She's intemperate. She gets into a bunch of drama and foolishness and hooligan stuff with her friends. But she got a child. And guess what? The child sees that stuff. If it's a young woman, the child sees that stuff. And in the ways of that mother gets passed down to that child. But that child might not even like that way of life. The child's sitting there like, what is this? Is this what life is about? No, the child is confused. The child has no understanding. So it goes back. It's trickled down. The way that went down, that is passed to the children. It's like that for young women. For young men, they'll be wondering why they dad ain't there. They'll be wondering why they dad ain't taking care of them. Why they dad ran away from them. Feeling like that they've been abandoned. Feeling like they've been hurt. And then they mama a certain way. They don't know what's going on. And they start moving in certain ways. So all these things, every man from his youth is given to evil. Neither could they make to themselves fleshy hearts for stoning. That's why you got people running out there saying they got to be hard. They got to be tough. They got to be in this hardened state. Why? They don't want to be seen as vulnerable. They don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want to be seen as that. Why? Because a lot of people grow up in these streets feeling like they need to survive and they don't know how to live. They can't make themselves fleshy hearts for stony. They've been conditioned a certain way in their mind to believe in the things that are going on in this world to be what truth is. Not knowing the glorious light of Jehovah. Not knowing these things. So you have many hurt children out here. Our people is in the lowest of the low in this world. In the ghettos. In the slums. In these hoods. In these things. Living on Section 8. Living on food stamps. Living off of these things. All this dysfunction and chaos passed down from generation to generation, all to show one thing. All of it shows one thing. It shows how much we need the Most High God. Why? Every man from his youth is given to evil. Neither could they make to themselves fleshy hearts for stony. It shows how much help we need. It shows how much help we need. You got people who's listening to this that probably done went through the same stuff. In my case, I went through situations where, like I said, I've had to learn to not hold nothing against my mama. I used to hold strong resentment, but I realize and understand I can't do that. Why? Nobody had truth. It shows what happens to our people when no truth is present. All types of stuff happens, and flesh is just gonna be flesh. So what do? Being covered in flesh. Psalms 36:4. He deviseth mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He hateth not evil. That's why you got people who like to go in the club and turn up and get drunk. That's why you got everybody hanging out smoking weed with each other. That's why you got everybody talking about, oh, how they want to hit this chick over here and how bad she look. And now you got a group of friends that's going to sit there and lay down with one female. You got all this stuff. Don't nobody hate evil. Everybody think this stuff is fun. Everybody think drama and chaos and confusion is fun. But all this stuff passed down to a hurt child that don't know what the truth is and don't know what's going on. They think this stuff is just what life is all about. He devises mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. This is why you got people who sitting there selling drugs to other people, destroying them. They worried about the money. They conditioned to think that money is what everything is about. They don't know what truth is. This is why you got women out here prostituting themselves, laying with every man that'll show them attention. They don't know what truth is. They think this is what this life is about. They think this is what we supposed to be doing out here. Why? They don't think there's nothing else to do. They don't got no hope. They don't got no hope. This is what we do. Automatic. And then we brag about it. You can't say we don't. Proverbs 2:14. Who rejoice to do evil? In the light and the forwardness of the wicked. Wow, you see it in music. You see it in music videos. You talking about they selling drugs. Talking about they laying with all these women. Talk about she's a B word. Talk about all this stuff. We rejoice to do it. We think it's good. We think it's fine. But the hurt child conditioned the mind to see all these things growing up, and they think all this stuff is cool. Do y'all understand what is being taught today? This is what happens. A lot of us have grew up like this and have no understanding, or have had no understanding on what life was about. Our parents might have been in certain situations where they didn't know what was going on, and they just did whatever they could. But you can't hate them. You can't hate them. They didn't know. They didn't know. Children are vulnerable vessels. They are impressionable, able to be influenced, shaped, and molded. But it's still all about the heart and the mind and what goes on within. Everyone has a choice to make as they move forward. And even at a young age, we have decisions to make. But for those without guidance and direction, without truth and understanding, Satan is going to do what he's going to do regardless. I'm going to pivot real quick. We're going to see something. 2 Corinthians 11:14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, into a messenger of light. 15. Therefore it is no great things if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Why? So the thing about it is, when you looking at a messenger of light, he appearing as something, as one that is good. He is appearing as one that is desirable unto you. This messenger of light gonna give you some good counsel, give you some good advice, giving you some good ways of doing things. He's appearing to be righteous to you. He's trying to make himself appear to be a certain way in your mind. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers be transformed as the ministers of righteousness. The ones that's working for Satan, they gonna look like they right to you. See, we think in this world that righteousness is dependent on what you have, what you can accumulate, what you can gather, your position in life, your status in life, if people like you or not, if people respect you or not, if people want to give you things or not, if people show how many friends you got, all material possessions. But we're going to see something. We see this here. 1 Timothy 6:5. Perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds, and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself. You see, you got people who try to portray certain things as good. So, back when I was real young, growing up, you had people that would sit there and push that having a bunch of females was a good thing. That gaining all these women was something that was desirable to you. You've seen these things in music videos. You've seen these things even at school. Dudes that was talking to different females, and then they would brag about it. Why? It go back to that verse in Proverbs 2:14. Who rejoice to do evil and delight in the forwardness of the wicked. They rejoicing that they sitting there fornicating with a whole bunch of girls. They rejoicing that they getting all this material wealth in these evil ways of getting it. Supposing that gain is godliness. You gotta have this to be godly. You gotta have this to be good. You gotta have this. But we're gonna see something in the spiritual dictionary. So we see godliness right here. Piety, holiness, devoutness. We see what godliness is talking about, what it's tying to when you seeing godliness. But we see piety. Piety is going to tie you right here to godly. But we're going to see righteous. So we see that godliness is going to tie you to piety. And piety is going to tie you to godly. And both of these are going to tie you to righteous. So, right here, people think that gain is righteousness. They think that gain is righteous. That's what's truly good, is what you have materially. And they're going to push these things to you. It's one thing when somebody's able to give you understanding on acquiring the necessities that you need, but then you have people who are greedy. They want more. They can't get enough. And they push these things. They push a whole bunch of getting this and getting that at whatever expense it is. It doesn't matter. Perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth. They don't have the truth. Supposing that gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself. Because that's all flesh is going to desire. Is they want more. They want more. They want more. So if you're not getting stuff, oh, you must not be good. You know, yeah, nah, this dude ain't right. Nah, look, he broke. He doing this. He don't know nothing. He broke. He's this. He's that. How's he gonna tell me something? You ain't got no money. How you gonna tell me this, bruh? You don't get no females. How you gonna tell me this? And you a lame. Don't nobody like you. You ain't got no friends. You ain't in the in group. You ain't clicked up with us. This is the foolishness that we get into out in the world when we wasn't in truth. But guess what? These are the types of influences that a child gets into. And with no direction, no guidance, no counseling, this is what a child gets caught up in. So that's why it was stated. Therefore, it is no good thing if his ministers also be transformed as compared to the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. They gonna get you into all the things of this world, of this flesh that's against the Most High, because they gonna get you into all unlawful things, and this is what they gonna push to you and try to deem it as good. It don't gotta be the person in the building. This could be anybody that's telling you something that's against the Most High. They want to get you into philosophy. They want to get you into all this carnal stuff. They want to get you into selling drugs. They want to get you in all, because they want to put these things as good. I hope somebody's understanding what's going on. Every man from his youth is given to evil. This world conditions young ones to operate in certain ways. When I was a child, see, I'm going to give an example with me. When I was a child, doing promiscuous things was considered cool. And in my elementary school days, children was already speaking about adult subjects and inappropriate topics early on. You had children sitting there bragging about doing certain acts that they had no understanding of. You had kids literally talking about, oh yeah, I put this object of protection in this girl. I'm just saying it like that for appropriate sake. But you understand what I'm saying. They would say this stuff in elementary school. They would sit there and be doing certain activities in elementary school, and other kids would sit there and talk about it like it was cool, promoting this stuff. These are the things that children are subject to. Where the kids got it from? They could have got this from somewhere in their house. They could have got this from, this stuff spreads. They could have got this from, the internet was early at that time. We still had computers at that time. We grew up with computers. They could have got that stuff on there. The young children are subject to these things, and these things are influence a child's mind. So they would brag about these things back in my school, and then encourage other children to do the same. Every man from his youth is given to evil. This is something that happens early on. This flesh automatically has issues from the moment we are in the womb. Flesh cannot change, so flesh has to die. Meaning what? The ways of the flesh need to be removed. A fleshy heart is a heart that can be receptive to the word. It's able to be changed. It's able to be pierced and pricked by the word, shaped and molded. While a stony heart is hardened and unable to change, this shows that we need Jehovah in our life to guide us, to help us. These sorts of things. All these things that we see, all these different things that influence a child that's being spoken about. Satan don't care about none of that. He gonna do whatever he can to do to destroy life. He don't care about God's creation. He don't care about anything good. All he wants to seek to do is corrupt what Jehovah has made and seek to make corrupt things seem good. The hurt child, having no guidance, having no instruction. Now they teaching to fornicate. I quite literally in my childhood was taught by an adult to do certain sexual activities in high school with a girl I was dating. This is what we deal with. This is what we deal with. But when you have no guidance, you have no truth, you go through traumatic things, you go through these things, you subject to these things. You left with your own mind. That's the recipe for craziness. Let's look at Ephesians 6 and 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as compared to a roaring lion, walketh about, seeing whom he may devour. It's clear. We already saw this. Okay, I keep getting ahead of myself. We already saw 2 Corinthians 11 to 14. So we're going to go to Galatians. Galatians 5:19 through 21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murderings, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. See, it's not a battle of flesh versus flesh. The enemy is everywhere in this world. So when I was a child, I was subjected to all sorts of evil things, and these things shaped me, molded me, and built me up in a way of wickedness. Satan is going to do everything he can to destroy us. There are many influences and wickedness that can be instilled in a child, thought processes and behavioral patterns. Many evil things can be put on someone and in someone. When you look at the works of the flesh, these are something that we can get caught up in. It goes back to it. People will minister these things as if they're good. Fornication and rap music, talking about sleeping with a whole bunch of women, acting like it's good. You got women doing the same thing with Megan Thee Stallion, talking about she did it with this dude, did it with that dude. She over here shaking her behind everywhere, trying to make it seem like that's the way to live. And they promoting wickedness. And then they got young children subject to it who don't got truth. Young children who go through things, who go through traumatic experiences. And these are the influences and the things that they look at. Adultery, uncleanness, idolatry, lasciviousness. Idolatry. They want you to worship and idolize and hold to something of this world over seeking the Most High God. They want you to worship a man. They want you to worship a man in a building. They want you to worship a man that died. They want you to worship something that you can see. All this stuff is promoted. All this stuff is being pushed to influence children. When you look at the works of the flesh, these are something that we can get caught up in physically or spiritually. And Satan wants us to be attached to these. The evil spirit wants to take you and get you tied to fleshly works against Jehovah. Satan wants you to be trapped and lost forever. He's not going to care about striking somebody young. He do not care one bit. Whatever he'll try to do to plague a child's mind, he's going to do it. His desire is that the child won't ever depart from that evil way. Why? He wants as many people to go to bust hell wide open and go to the lake of fire with him. So we have to look at what's going on, because many of us have gone through horrific things as children. As children. You have some people who went through assaults, abuse, neglect, and different forms of mental trauma. Whether it was from family members or people we thought was friends or strangers, these horrible events show us the nature of this present world and the sickness within it. You have some people who went through the most horrible things as children. We saw the influences. We saw the different things that are around, but there's things that happen to children. And see, we're going to look at some more verses. Isaiah 60:2. We're going to look at this real quick. It says, for behold, remember, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. What is this darkness? Wickedness. Disobedience. We see it. We're going to look at darkness. Spiritual ignorance. Sinfulness. Spiritual blindness. We see this. It's going to right here. And gross darkness to people. It covers the people. We see this. This is something that's already going down. We see it. Genesis 1 and 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. We see that. The people don't even know what's going on. They know not. Neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. Everybody thinking that this darkness and everything that's going on in this world, that's cool, that's what it is. They think that's what it is. Let's look at 2 Corinthians 4 and 4 along with this. In whom the God of this world, this is a lowercase g God. So this is showing you that this is a false God right here. In whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not. The minds of them are blinded that don't believe the truth. So they don't even know what they doing. They don't even see it. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. The minds are blinded. People can't see what's going on. People don't understand what's going on. Second Esdras 14 to 16. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter, even when we leave this place. As long as this earth is here, there's going to be greater evils done. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much the more evil shall increase upon them that dwell therein. This is the condition of this world. And through time, things are only going to get worse here. Why? You can see it. And they won't get better. So when it comes to children, we're either trained up in worldly ways without the knowledge of truth, or try to figure out our own way to navigate through all this darkness. But both bring the same outcome, which will be emptiness and vanity. If you are one of the hurt children, then you might understand clear on what's being said. Why? These things that you've seen, you couldn't understand it, but you didn't know where else to go. These things that you got into, you didn't, it doesn't matter. You saw all these things and you just took a hold to whatever it was based on your circumstances and situations and things that you was in. Was it still wrong? You bet it was. 100%. So it's no excuse regardless. It was wrong, period. But these conditions for a child, these things hurt. You go through things with family members. You go through things with your parents. You go through things with people close to in your life. You might not have had water on. You might not have had food. You might not have had somebody to talk to. You might not have had an outlet. But do you hate your parents? No, you don't. You don't. You might have been in a situation where you really wanted to understand, but you couldn't understand as a child. And you really wanted to help. And you really wanted to make sense of everything, but you just couldn't. And even when you sought for it, nothing could be given to help you. You could have been in that very situation. How? We not saying nothing that's just outlandish. Let's look at Lamentations 4 and 4. The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the root of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. What is bread in the spiritual dictionary? It's going to tell you everything that you need to see. Bread. And they wanted this knowledge. They wanted to understand what was going on. They couldn't get it. The young children ask knowledge, and no man breaketh it unto them. So then what happens? Why is this happening? What's going on? You don't get it. Then what happens? Jeremiah 18:12. And they said there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will everyone do the imagination of his evil heart. What develops? What builds up inside of you as a child, going through these traumatic things, these things that you just don't get, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness? You hate life. You question why you was born. You question what's the purpose of life. You question what is going on. You questioning people. Why are you this way? How come you didn't do this for me? How come you don't get what's going on? Verse 17. In the way of peace have they not known. No peace. But you just trying to find something to make you feel good in the moment. Psalms 14 and 3. They are all gone aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good. No, not one. The hurt child, seeking bread, seeking knowledge and understanding, and no one breaks it to them. Seeing family dysfunction, divorce and cheating in the family growing up. Seeing different things of confusion, not exclusive to the household, but even in school, feeling like everything is against them and that they have no one. Something deeply traumatizing could have even happened to them, and they have absolutely no trust in anyone or anything. Am I speaking to you today? Wanting to get understanding, wanting to tell somebody what happened, wanting to open up your heart to let somebody know, hey, I'm hurting inside. I don't know what's going on, and don't nobody hear. Am I talking to you today? Wandering in Babylon, this place of inward confusion, longing for an answer. That child feeling neglected, forsaken, rejected, and betrayed. They begin to just take on whatever makes them feel good in the flesh, seeking to cope to get through whatever happened. They may even seek to bury that memory deep, but that's the very thing that's keeping you stuck in the same position because of the seed that's planted in the ground that's only going to grow. And then it's like you keep going through a cycle. You keep going through the same things as you growing up and you don't even get what's going on. Can't nobody tell you because don't nobody know. If I'm speaking to you today, I just want you to know you are not alone in whatever you went through, and you can be healed from it because you know not to trust man, but you have to trust the true and living God. And these things from before, these are things we need the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the Most High God to get us through these things. And these things are 100% possible. But this hurt child, we still looking at it. They begin seeking togetherness in the wrong places. And this is how young men get caught up in gangs, wanting to feel like they belong to something. They want to feel connected. They want to feel accepted somewhere. Why? Because they feel like they don't have it at home. Because they don't have that understanding. They can't communicate with nobody in the house. No fault of their parents because the family never had that. Never had truth. Never had the wisdom. Never had the knowledge to be able to do these things. Young women with no fatherly guidance, seeking what they think is love in these bad places and craving attention from those that lust after them and love them not. A house with no father in it to teach his family in the ways of Jehovah, and the daughters form evil understandings and begin to hate men. She develops a wicked understanding and begins to see men as just a tool to get what she wants. So she manipulates them to receive whatever lust she craves. This is what happens. The young women may receive bad counsel from friends who went through the same thing, and it just multiplies confusion. And they get in a sexual perversion, believing it'll bring healing to the void that was caused by the pain they experienced in childhood. This is what happens. This is real. The young man who has tension and resentment towards his mother, lacking a father figure, begins seeking relationships with other nations, believing they will bring him peace. Another begins to listen to friends his age and develops his understanding from other men who have no light and no direction. You listening to other knuckleheads that don't know what they talking about. And they gonna tell you to chase this money, to chase this chick, to chase that bag, to sell these drugs, to come and do this with us. Let's go to the club. Let's hit this up. Let's go do this. And they don't know what they talk about themselves. They also empty inside. But you seeking that moment of release to make you feel like something mattered for a split second, and you look behind yourself and realize it never did. Both male and female can experience these things on different levels and in different ways. And the same thing does not always have the same effect on a different person. Those are just some of the things. There's a lot more. This is why this series has to happen. But nonetheless, these issues and problems can plague the inward part of a person, and if left unaddressed, this very issue can drive certain bad choices and decisions even all the way into adulthood. Some of these issues we can develop. We end up thinking that whatever fleshly remedy we sought for the problem was good, and this is the very thing that is causing us our issue. If you truly believe you can be healed to where you don't have to live in the way that you have been or been tied up to the stuff that you've been carried to today, then you're in the right place for this to happen. Let's go to Proverbs. (23:7). For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. We see that. Me, I myself have gone through terrible things and have gone through things in this flesh. I myself have been through sexual perversion as a child. And as a child, I did terrible things to others. There was so much stuff going on, and I had no understanding. So I formed my own. And that cold and empty feeling inside, I had that. Feeling betrayed, lost, and confused. Feeling guilty for something that I couldn't even understand, and hating pretty much everyone and everything. Feeling confused about what happened. Feeling like I couldn't trust nobody about nothing. I had to do everything on my own to make it through what I was going through. That's how I felt. Why? Because I didn't want to trust my parents. I didn't want to trust nobody. I didn't want to trust my own friends. I felt like I was better than everybody else. Why? Because why the heck? How could I go through this? How could I experience? What is my life? I felt like that. That's how I used to think. I used to just sit there. Oh, I'm this. I'm that. I'm evil. Oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this. I'm gonna just do that. Foolishness. This is foolishness. I would feel guilty about something that I couldn't even understand. Feeling confused about what happened and crazy thoughts afflicting me throughout my life. I was a child and had no understanding of what was happening. I had just gotten into something I shouldn't have ever gotten into. I hated myself. And I did hateful things to myself. That's what I thought in my heart. That's what I was all about. I hated myself, so I did everything to just try to drown out the pain. And it never worked. Till I was brought here to this truth. And it took time for me to understand. It took time. It took time. I was at a point where I was feeling like I never belonged in this place. Feeling like I'm an alien in this world. Where am I? Who am I? What is this place? Desperately wanting things to just end, wanting to die. Questioning my very existence on what the point of me even being alive was. It was a hellish experience. Through that confusion, guess what? Had some stuff happen as a kid. Inappropriate acts was happening as a kid. To make it worse, these acts was happening between me and another dude. Another boy. I had to be like 4 or 5 years old. I didn't know what was going on. I ain't got nothing to hide. Ain't nothing to hide. Through that confusion, I got heavily into pornography and became addicted. Pornography was rampant when I was a child. The hurt child experiencing these things they should be experiencing. I was very first exposed to it in my own home from a family member from what I can remember. We had a child at school who had gotten onto us porn website all the way back in kindergarten. We had kids in school talking about sexual acts and activities openly like it was normal. Look. What is hurt? What is hurt? Wounded, injured, crushed, pierced, bruised, afflicted, stricken, broken, maimed. Where? In your mind, in your heart. And your heart gets hard. You get cold. See, in school, we deem these things as good because the things felt good to the flesh, spreading wickedness all around. You had people doing these acts in the dang schools. In the school, you had people doing these things in school when I was growing up. These kids is hurt. These kids don't know. These kids don't get it. These kids don't understand. They see their parents doing it. They see their parents getting high. They see their parents smoking weed. They seeing their parents getting drunk. They seeing all this stuff going on. They seeing family members doing all this stuff going on. And then when they want to ask about it, they don't got the answer to it. You got some people who go through these things. This is real in this world. And this world is real. In this present time. That's why we must seek first the kingdom. So these normalized wickedness acts and things that was going on, we thought those things was good. Isaiah 5:20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Trading everything out. We think that this wickedness that we done picked up was a good thing. And then we celebrate it. Go back to Proverbs 2:14, who rejoice to do evil, and the light in the forwardness of the wicked. We think that stuff is cool. We brag about how many females we done fornicated with. Women brag about they taking a woman's man from her to make herself feel superior, bragging about how many men, high level status men that she done been with. They want to sit there and say being married is this, and they want to talk about a married woman. Oh, she a slave, she this, and that ain't even what it is. I once got told growing up, because I wanted to be in a relationship and get married, I was being a pick and chooser because I wouldn't sit there and be with a whole bunch of females. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a wife and do things in there. Not sitting there just doing it all that. I still was out there being a fornicator anyway. It didn't even matter. But guess what? Calling evil good and good evil. They didn't care about the sanctity of marriage and anything. Nothing. And marriage is a respectable thing. 100%. Romans 3:23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Everybody, all flesh. Genesis 6:5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So whatever we chose to get hooked up to in our minds, we tried to make that evil good, and it was wrong. These ideologies and thought processes and beliefs we took a hold to that shaped our understanding as a child, we thought that stuff was good, and it wasn't. Whatever we went through, it is important to remember that all have sinned, so we shouldn't hold any resentment toward our parents because they had no light and was moved based on their own understanding. In order for us to seek inner peace, we must remove all that weight we accumulated through the process of time. We need to submit. Look at this. James 4:7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. That's all I need. Is James 4:7a. 1 Corinthians 13:11. Because all these things happen in our childhood. You see, we gonna talk about some very uncomfortable things, but it's real, and truth has. we got to talk about it. It just is what it is. You have young men who had things happen to them as a child by other men, and that's a wickedness that is absolutely despicable for any child, male or female, to have something like that happen to them. But these are the ones who I have to speak to in another teaching. And it'll probably be the next one. Whatever happened to you as a child, somebody sat there and did that to you. I'm telling you. You might have thoughts that it's your fault. You might have thoughts that you are this and you're that. If you was a young man and it was an older woman, that might have been something that was trying to be portrayed to you as something good. If you was a young man and it was a male that did that, deep confusing thoughts may try to come into your mind. But all these things, it could be removed. All of it. To where these things can be dealt with in a much better way. And it has nothing to do with our own ability or strength. Have hope in Jehovah. Because I myself, when I went through the things I went through as a kid, with certain things happening, I had a whole lot of baggage and a whole lot of stuff. We're gonna have to talk about this in the next one on what can happen to overcome that. I was addicted to a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm only here today through the mercy of Jehovah. Because only our God, Jehovah, not being no Jehovah Witness, we talking about Christ. That's who Jehovah is. Only the true and living God can free somebody from doing the things that they was doing like that. Watching certain things on the internet, having evil thoughts coming to your mind, questioning what you are based on what happened. Yeah. These things. And the thing about all of them, when we go through these things, we form certain understandings as a child. And these understandings that we form as a child, we got to put it away. Those things that we tried to pick up to make ourselves feel good, to forget what happened, to try to cope, we got to put it away. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Whatever we was thinking as a kid, and whatever understanding we formulated based on life, we got to remove that. We got to hold to what Jehovah says to get through this. Got to. All the stuff that we picked up, that we was into, that we was doing, that we thought was good, that made us feel good. And if you knew, and you still might be doing it, every time you done doing that, you still feel empty inside. Because that ain't what's going to help you. Wisdom of Solomon 5:7. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts, these dry places with no knowledge, no understanding, no wisdom, where there lay no way. We went that way. We went that way. Verse 8a. Oh, wait a minute. What hath pride profited us? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Do you want to see what pride profited us? We'll see what we got. Ecclesiastes 12:8. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. That's all pride has profited us. We did something that we thought was going to bring us something, and it brought us nothing. Emptiness, coldness, feeling dead inside. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. The hurt child didn't have the answers growing up and couldn't get them. They got into some hurtful things that affected them. They even held to things that hurt others around them. Pride built up and grew through time. One thing that cannot be shook, when you was doing certain things as a child that you knew was wrong, in the moment, that thing probably felt nice. But you always eventually felt that guilt, whatever that thing was. And it was never truly worth it. It's never worth it. You feel like you're going in a circle and you can't get out. You could be removed from the circle. I was addicted to drugs. I became a drug addict to try to cope and deal with the things that was going on in my heart and mind. I have not been addicted to drugs and I don't know how long. I was addicted to pornography. I can't tell you the last time I was in that stuff. It's been years. It's been years. When this truth came, a fight had to happen. But now it's been years. It's been years. What has pride profited us at any point in our lives? Nothing. So now as adults, we can reflect on the things we went through in our childhood that affected us in the ways that this may be affecting us in this current time in our walk. Whatever understanding we formed in our minds, we put away these childish things of ours. Let me hit 5 more verses and we'll close this teaching. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. If you are new here and you may be dealing with these things, my name is Brother Kahleial with the King James Bible University, and I welcome you to come to the Sabbath Zoom after Pastor Michael Johnson's teaching. That will be, his teaching will start at 1 p.m. Eastern time. This is Saturday. If you don't know, it's on Saturday. 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific, I think. It's 12. It's 12. It started at 12 though. 12 p.m. So Central Time. So you're welcome in the zone. It's people who have gone through these things. You can speak with them. If you truly want to turn to Jehovah, the true and living God, and understand what you can do to get closer to him, that you may receive healing, that you may follow who God really is. You're welcome to come back there and ask questions. You're welcome to come back and ask questions. We have teachings that go on here. You can go to King James Bible University YouTube channel page. You'll see different teachers down there. You can go to their channels and subscribe. They got their emails in the description. All that's there. 2 Corinthians 13:5. Examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. The ones that are adults who might have this baggage, self-check. Isaiah 34:16. Seek ye out of the book of the Spirit of God and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and in his spirit it have gathered them. Second Esdras 14:34. For that reason, if so be ye, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive after death, and ye shall obtain mercy. All the stuff we was getting into, we got to remove it. And we're going to be emptying ourselves out. We have to do it every day. We got to be looking at it one thing at a time. Get rid of this stuff. If whatever hurt that you have as a child, however, whatever understanding you formed about life, about how you see things, we got to remove it. We got to change it. Last two, Jeremiah 17:7. And in the next part, we will be talking about these things. We will be talking about some more stuff. Jeremiah 17:7. Blessed, wisdom given is the male or female that trusted in the Spirit of God, and whose hope the Spirit of God is. We hoping in the Most High. Not worry about flesh. You trust the Word of God. You trust the Spirit. You trust that voice. Last verse. John 8:32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You won't have to be in bondage, in shackles, to whatever was going on in your mind, to whatever understanding you formed as a child. I used to hate so many. I used to hate so many people. I used to hold strong grudges, and it's none of that stuff is worth it. Especially when you know. Especially when you know they didn't know. And when we consider the things that we've done against our God, man, we got to really sit and think about what's going on. Because we want to be set free from those ways of thinking, from that burden that we put on ourselves, whatever it may have been. So we're going to look at different various things and other teachings. But I hope that somebody was richly edified by this lesson. The series introduction of the hurt child. This has been Brother Kahleial. And I say unto each and every last one of y'all, take care and shalom.